Welcome to Dove and Dragon Radio. We are live today, and I have a special guest with me, Augustus Vaughn. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the honor of having me on your show.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Now, normally I do authors that have written books. You're a little bit different as you have an audio book instead. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I would love to. This new audiobook that I have just released, to be honest, it is actually my first audiobook. So I do have a history in writing, but this audiobook is special because it's a little bit of a detour, even though it's my first work. So I'm very excited about it.
Now, did you find doing the audiobook harder than doing written work, or it was about the same?
Actually, it was. It came across awkward at first because I've done public speaking, so I had experience with speaking engagements, and writing. I've had experience, but more so in poetry. So It was a crossover, but I had experience in some way or form, so it wasn't too difficult.
That's a very interesting mix right there. Poetry with public speaking. It's a little bit of a mix compared to some of the people I talk to that do business and leadership, which is what your book is about.
Right. Yeah, quite the crossover, but they're cousins.
Of course, all writing, all forms of literature are cousins in one way or another.
Indeed.
Now, you have some really excellent reviews already on your site where we can purchase this, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But what made you write this book?
All right, so starting out, I noticed a couple of friends growing up, and I've had friends from both sides of the court. I've had friends that had it well growing up, but I've also had friends that had it very tough growing up, and I noticed that usually the ones that had it tough growing up, they had this rebellious nature just naturally based off of what they've seen. But some of them, not most, it's been a rare occasion, but some of them, they actually seen a light once adulthood came. And long story short, they ended up, becoming gentlemen. But I noticed the ones that had it good growing up, they've enjoyed action movies, and they love having this infatuation with being that guy, being the man. And once responsibility hit for them, they actually started making mistakes because they're not sheltered anymore. So it's really been on my heart to address this guy that everyone wants to be or used to be, but or is, but doesn't want to be anymore. And that is what you will call in my audiobook, The Bad Boy.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. Because I have those friends, too, that were better off than some, and some that were door floor poor. And it's interesting to sit back and watch them where they've gone to now.
Yeah. Very interesting. Sad. Sometimes it turns out well, but in most occasions, sad.
My one friend that I went to school with wasn't well off, but he was middle class family. Anthony Hitchens from the Chicago Redskins Chiefs. Sorry, Chicago Chiefs or Missouri. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do we see? I don't follow sports. Don't hold that against
Yeah,
me.
it's all right.
I know.
Yeah.
I know he was in the Super Bowl yesterday, but it's interesting to have been able to watch him in school to be where he's at now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's
So.
very, very interesting to see. And it sounds like, he made it to the pros, so he had a happy ending, right?
Right. Now there's some of my friends that don't have that happy ending, and they're still where they were back in high school.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, and see, that's why I did the bad boy, because in most scenarios, I don't want to jump too far in the interview because I know you have your questions ready. But in actually most scenarios, it comes down to education, and upbringing is very important because what the parents do is they educate their children if the parents are there,
Right.
But in the case where there's a single parent household, all that child needs or adult needs is to have education on why things are the way that they are. And I mean that works wonders when someone not only has education but they know what they're doing.
Right. See,
yeah.
I'm a firm believer, and I can't talk today, that education is the foundation for everything. But to get the kids to learn while they're in school has to be also backed up by the parents. Even if you're taking 5-10 minutes from your day when your son or daughter comes home from school, talk about what's going on in school, and reiterate what they're learning and why they're learning it, why it's important.
Yeah, very important. That's very important. I also am a firm believer of that as well, because I've heard of this recent speaker, and his resume is off the charts. But he used to be a school psychologist, teacher, and principal in the past. And he said that the schooling system it's a setup to learn at home. It's just a setup. And he said the sad thing about it is school goes on for too long for children to actually get anything. But in the midst of it, when they come home, the child could still succeed. It just takes a little bit of effort from the parents.
Right. And I went through the thing with the school that I ended up pulling my daughter out of the mainstream school, brick and mortar school, and started teaching her for about 2 years, homeschooled her, which was an honor for me because I got to teach her everything that I found to be important that's not in schools because I don't have time to teach it.
Right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I mean, yeah, there's things in history that needs to be taught, and we have to teach it so we don't forget and repeat the cycle. That's just one instance.
Yes, very true, very true. And this is another reason why I've formed the bad boy, because dealing with this specific character, I had to go back to that childhood a lot. It's an easy how can I put this? It's easy to understand it, but needless to say, it is not an easy listen. It hits close to home, but of course, it brings results. It brings powerful results. But it's just that, the listener, if they're a bad boy, it's not going to be easy for them to, listen. But it brings results.
Right, and that's the important thing. Anything that's self-help, self-motivation, self-learning, it's hard to hear because we don't want to hear this about ourselves. We don't want we want to fix it, but we don't want to be told what to fix. This is mentality of people. And I talk to a lot of self-help authors and stuff like this all the time. So this is something they always say. We always want to better ourselves, but we don't want to hear how to better ourselves. We think we know it all.
Yeah, very true. And we can say that that's a problem, but it's more so. I believe it's just human nature. I don't think there's anything bad on anyone's part. Whenever we feel this way, it's just a part of human nature.
Right.
Yeah.
There's things with human nature we have to overcome to grow. That's just fact. We've done it for millennia almost as human beings. To grow, to learn, we have to overcome our own mental. We don't want to do this because society says no.
Yeah.
So we have to overcome that.
Yeah. Very true.
Now, with the bad boy, what age group are you gearing to?
Well, on Audible, it allows 18 and up. But if someone, say a responsible parent, were to find excerpts throughout the series that they believe are applicable to their to their child or to someone that they may be a guardian over that is a little younger, it would be acceptable. But I'm aiming for that 18 and up because the bad boy, as you can tell from the action movies, from the books, from the magazines, this guy is very erotic. See, so I can't aim for the younger generation. I would like to warn them in a sense, but I can't aim for them. So it's up to the parent to kind of bridge that.
No, that's a perfect thing. That's why I asked, because there's some authors out there, audio, paperback, whatever, that goes, anyone can read it. Well, that's not always true. What are you, it's, you can say anyone can read this, but can they really? Is a 13-year-old going to have the same outlook at your work as a 20-year-old? It's just,
Yeah,
so I always ask.
I'll be able to relate to this. They're going to need a couple more years for that.
Of course. See, I like letting parents know, hey, yeah, it would be a good read for parents to maybe have an insight, but it may not be ready for your son or daughter for a few more years.
Yeah, it's very good on your part.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's good as a parent to listen to this stuff because maybe it'll open up a dialogue you need to have with your son or daughter.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I've seen in one of the reviews that was left for this title that there were it was a couple, and they were talking about how they didn't pay attention to some things that they were doing as parents. And first off, as I'm reading this review, I'm thinking to myself, all right, parenting, and but it hit me right away. Oh, this deals with children, or it deals with the bad boy as he's young. So yeah, I can see how they, and they said that it actually helped them in making sure that they didn't raise a quote unquote bad boy. That really blessed me to see that.
Right. That's one thing we have to learn as parents, how to stop a future action of our child by how we parent. And I just was talking to someone a couple of days ago about, discipline. Don't always reward them for just showing up at school. We have to get away from this. We have to actually start taking responsibility as a parent and teaching our children, not just, oh, you went to school, so here's a certificate or trophy or whatever because you went to school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is the child learning in school for them to deserve that certificate?
Yeah,
are they
very true.
starting to bully someone, or are they being bullied? Or are they sticking up for the child that is bullied? What's going on?
Right.
There's a dynamic that there we need to have an open discussion, and as parents, stop.
Yeah. Lord knows this episode is not long enough for me to touch on that one.
Oh, I understand completely. But
wow.
Yeah.
My.
I can make a whole 2-hour episode just on parenting and bullying.
Yeah.
I really could.
Indeed.
Because there's so much going on right now as parents we need to take responsibility for, so we can stop losing our young people to things like suicide because they're being bullied. It blows my mind.
Yeah. So sad.
It is. I mean, as a child that was bullied in school, I understand where the children that take their life are coming from. I understand it. I didn't do that route, but I understand the feeling to do that. But at the same time, I had a grandfather that I could talk to about it. So we need, as parents, to step in, talk to our children, find out what's going on. And today, the bullying is 10 times worse than 20 years ago when I was in school.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely different. Definitely different than it used to be.
Now you don't. Yeah, now you don't have just the drugs and the bullying in school. You now have the social media. So now it's being taken to a whole nother level. So it's not just people you're interacting with on a daily basis in school. Now you're adding the World Wide Web, and you're being bullied or hassled by people that are in a different country.
Man, my goodness. Very true. Very true.
So we rely as parents on books like yours so we can get into our heads again as parents and open dialogue with their children.
Yes, indeed. There's a lot of work to be done. But what gives me light at the end of this tunnel is the fact that we all have the power to get it done.
Right. And we have to work
just
together to do it.
Yes, a little more unity and a little less talking, a little more action,
Exactly. I mean, talking is great. It opens up the dialogue, but you have to have the actions to back up the talking.
Exactly. Otherwise, the talking is just going to, for one, is going to be without purpose, and two, it's going to get repetitive. So even that's going to get boring.
Exactly.
And and people, we tend to hurt each other when we get bored. So we have to act.
You can't sit in front of a computer all day and expect things to change. You have to have an action behind your words to do something.
Yeah. Yes. Very true. Very true.
I mean, as authors, we're able to put the words there and give you tools. Parents, we give you tools. It's up to you to learn how to use those tools.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's the blessing of authoring.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of the great things as being an author that we can do is give someone else tools.
Yeah. 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 So, in the Bad Boy, I give tools concerning um, these scenarios from ground up. But what I also do in the book is I bring things into perspective concerning what's going on today. Um, for example, many people believe that when they're watching a quote unquote chick flick, right, a romantic movie, that they're watching a movie about romance. And I was under this impression as well. But going into the study that was required for the Bad Boy, it came to my amazement that these movies aren't romantic movies. They're actually erotic movies. See, because if these movies were romantic movies, then the music would be playing when the guy meets the girl and he gives her the compliment and he gives her the wink and she blushes, and the intense music will be playing during the rapport. But that's not when the intense music is playing. They have the intense music playing in the bedroom. See, and the media plays into how we see things like romance, which is very important in relationships today. And things like desire, things like love. The media has betrayed us. See, and I'm trying my best not to spoil the book, but not only is it revealed how the media betrayed us in this scenario, but I also have the solutions of how to become really your own, for the men to be your own man and for the women to be your own woman in the midst of what the media gives us as our surroundings.
Right. Now, we have about a few minutes left here. Where can our listeners find your audiobook or find you?
Audible, where we're trying to push everything to Audible, Amazon, iTunes. To get in touch with me, Augustus Vaughn, that's VAUGHN @gmail.com. That's Augustus Vaughn @gmail.com.
And do you have any Twitters, Facebook, anything like that?
Not at the moment. I'm trying to find the right team so that we can start from scratch. But there are channels, but we prefer if email and Audible for the time being.
Oh, there we go. That's at least that's a place to start for our listeners to get a hold of you, and we'll keep our listeners posted as you get Facebook, Twitters, or whatever other social medias that are popping up out there right now.
Yeah.
I think I had one come on here the other day with a dribble is the new social media. So I'm like, okay, what's a dribble? So I know basic, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. You start throwing these oddball social medias, I'm going to start questioning. So we have this book out. Are you planning another book like this?
Yeah, actually, this is the first of a large series of books. I'm trying my best not to spoil them, but it will cover every side of every man that dwells today and throughout ancient history, because this is information that needs to be had.
Of course. There's tools. There's so many conversations that we need to have with society today that we need books, we need audios, we need videos in some cases to get this message across to people.
Indeed.
But we're almost out of time, so thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. It was an honor.
And I hope to have you back again. As I said, I can't talk today. When you have your next audiobook come out.
That sounds very well, very good. I intend to.
So for our listeners on audio, again, the name of the audiobook is The Bad Boy by Augustus Vaughn, and take a listen to it. There's like 30-some 5-star reviews on this. This is insanely good. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day, Augustus.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.